Welcome to AVoice for Creators. I'm your host, Daniel Norton. This week, I want to talk a little bit about emotion and feeling and getting feeling from your images, getting feeling from your subject, that kind of stuff, right? So this is partially inspired by an email from Mark. Mark sent a really long email, so I'll be hitting on different parts of it depending on what I'm talking about in each episode. And also I had written in my notes over here, memory is created by emotion. And I think this is 100% true. When we remember things, it's usually because something happened that triggered an emotion. That emotion might be happiness, sadness. It might be being afraid. It might be being excited. It could be any one of these things. How do we get our viewer of the photo to feel an emotion? It's one thing to say, well, if we see somebody who's having a blast and having a party and they're laughing or whatever, and we photograph it, we're capturing emotion, right? But is that image necessarily going to make our viewer feel that? Because that's what we want, right? Ultimately, we want the viewer to feel the emotion. Now, if we're photographing somebody and we're going to show that picture to them, that might work. It might not, though. You might show somebody this picture of themselves laughing or whatever, and they might have a different emotion. They might have an emotion of embarrassment or anger if they don't like the picture, right? I mean, this is basically, just because we capture a certain emotion doesn't mean the person viewing is going to feel that way. So we need to consider a few things. We need to consider who our viewer might be. Now, I get that anybody can see our photo, but when we're creating art, just like marketing, we have to have a customer, if you will. You know, one of the worst things I would always encounter when somebody would come to me with a new product to do a video about, and I would say, who is this for? And they would say, well, anyone. No, that's not the way you approach things. Nothing is just for anyone. That's not giving me any guidance. We need to think, who is the most likely person that we want to see this picture in this case, or buy this product. So we say to ourselves, well, okay, this picture is it's aiming to be in such and such magazine, which has this demographic, or it's going to be on this website that has this demographic, or it's going to hang in these galleries that these types of people go to, or it's going to be used as a flyer for this charity or this corporation, right? And who's going to see that we want to react to it. When we do that, we can then think, what are the things that trigger emotions in those people, and what are the emotions we want to trigger? So if it's an animal charity, we might want to have an image of, an animal that looks sad, that is, that's looking at the camera like, oh, and that makes people that love animals go, oh, I want to give money to this charity. The poor animals, they need a place to live. If it's the other thing, let's say that we are a organization that's trying to stop logging or something, right? And we want to target people that love animals and love nature. We might find dead animal or corpses of animals or bones or an injured animal. Now, this doesn't bring the look of, oh, wow, what a cute animal. It's like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. This animal is hurt. What can I do so animals like this won't be hurt again? We're bringing that emotion forward, right? We're creating an emotion by showing this image to the right people. The same is true if we're shooting people, right? If we want to get a certain look, we can change the emotion of our viewer by using lighting, by using emotion in our subject. We could have a subject jumping up and down, and that might be exciting. It might not be, right? These are all things we're going to think about when we're creating our image. Any particular image can create a different emotion depending on who the viewer is. And our best bet is always just to think about who might be looking at the picture and who do we care about, right? Because we can't care about everybody. We have to think, who's going to look at this that we care gets what we're looking for. And usually if we're not creating it for a commercial purpose, it's going to be people that are similar to us, right? That's the most common thing. If we look at something and we say, wow, I think this is really cool and it makes me feel a certain way, and my audience is people like me, then that should work. But just like style, sometimes people can't quite put their finger on it. So we might look at an image and try to create a certain thing. We might, let's say, photograph a young woman, and we might be going for cute, but if we don't go about it the right way, we might get sexy, and that might not be what we're looking for, or just the opposite, right? We need to think about who the audience is, and we also really have to psychoanalyze ourselves. this is kind of a tangent here, but I'm going to go into it. I used to do a lot more of this one-on-one mentoring in my studio where people would come in. This is before I had YouTube or anything like that. And I had this one client, he was a IT guy and he had lots of money, and he would fly down. He was a young guy. He would fly down into the Dominican Republic and into Miami and, lots of places in the South because he would photograph like bikini girls basically. And he wanted to get better at it. He had a camera that was more expensive than mine. He had tons of money, and he just knew that his work was garbage, and he couldn't figure out why. He had everything he could possibly have. He bought lights, he had a camera, he had his models. And when he hired me to look at his work, I just looked at him and I said, these pictures look like you are trying to have a date with these girls. I actually didn't say it so nice like that, but family friendly. And after he was shocked that I said that to him, he thought about it for a second. He said, "You know what? You're right. I mean, I hire these models that I'm attracted to because I'm hoping that maybe we can hang out after we were." And that was his problem. He was trying to create an emotion of powerful fashion, beauty. Like Maxim was popular at the time, so this sexy but powerful woman. But what he was actually creating was creeper dude looking at girls, right? That's really what he was making, because he didn't understand that he couldn't see himself what he was doing because he couldn't step outside of it. And that's a very critical thing. So we need to think about, okay, who's going to see these pictures? What will they get from that? And he was unable to do it. Eventually he figured it out. I gave him some basic tips, as far as what he could do. I said, do this, do this, do this. And he did that, and they got better. And eventually they got even more better, and he became pretty decent. It took him time, just like anybody else, but he had the fundamentals down. His problem was that he couldn't get the right emotion from the viewer because he was putting the wrong emotion into it. And that is super important. This is why a lot of street photography with long lenses and stuff comes out creepy to me, because you are just afraid to engage on the street, and it shows. You look like somebody, a voyeur who's standing far away, not somebody who's in the moment. When you're in the moment with a wide angle lens doing street photography, interacting with people, that creates the feeling of being in that environment, being in the street, activity, movement. When you stand far away with a 200 millimeter lens and catch people, it doesn't have the same feel. And that's the reason why. So again, I know I'm not talking a lot about portraits because that's hard to do without really showing a specific portrait. But if we want to say, okay, we want to produce a portrait where somebody looks wizened, right? So, let's say they're an older person, because that's usually who you want to make look that way. We can do all kinds of things with lighting. We can do many things, right? But if we want somebody to, when somebody looks at that picture, to see this person is a thinking person, this person is inside their head, this person is thinking about things. What we don't want is them necessarily with a big toothy grin, right? There's, of course, the very famous, Einstein, right, where he's got a big goofy face. That doesn't make him look like, we know it's Einstein, that's why it's funny. But the thing is, that's not the way that you would shoot him if you were trying to make him seem like a scientist, right? What you want to do is create images that when the viewer sees it, they can recognize cues that most of us in society can recognize, especially those in the group that you're looking for. If we know somebody is a scientist and we know that they're, known for all this stuff, and then we take the picture of them breaking out laughing or whatever, that works because that's now, we know who that person is and they're laughing. So it's kind of out of character, and that creates a very interesting setup. If we know somebody who is always comedic and we shoot them very serious, again, that creates a much different vibe. Because if I look at a comedian and I see them frowning, that makes me think of something, because I connect comedian, but frowning, what's going on here? And that's going to create something in my brain that's going to create an emotion for me as the viewer. If I don't know this person is a comedian and they're just frowning, or I don't know this person is a scientist and they're in their big old goofy grin, I don't get that emotion. I get frowning person, I get big grin, and maybe that's going to carry through, maybe it's not. Understanding, so one of the questions that I was, how do you hone this type of ability? I think that's kind of what I've been talking about. Understanding the emotion of your subject when they see something, understanding their connection to the image, that's going to be how you hone it. Okay, so how do you know when you've got it? Well, there's a very famous quote, right? If I knew how to make a great photo, I'd do it every time. It's hard to know when you've got it. we we have an idea and we try to convey it, but it's not always obvious to us because we have to be able to step out of ourselves. And that just takes time and practice. When you look back at the images, even if you're doing it right away, you have to step outside yourself. Maybe you love an image because you're like, I got the lighting exactly the way I wanted, or I got exactly the right pose. But when you look at it, it might not be what you thought it was going to be as far as getting the right emotion. And if that is the case, then you didn't do it. You need to continue to shoot. One of the things that I often find that works for me, especially if you're trying to shoot something out of character for somebody, is if they don't immediately love it. That's usually a good sign. I know that sounds terrible, but that's just the way it is. A lot of times I'll be going for something and I'll shoot something and the subject will be like, ooh, that doesn't look like me at all. And I'm thinking to myself, perfect, because this isn't you. This is this emotion I'm trying to project, and people will get that from this. So just like anything, just like style, it's one of those nebulous things that you've just got to keep working on it. Shoot a bunch, think about it, try to step outside yourself. Okay, and finally he asks about like, how do we guide people and help them into an image that has feeling? Well, that's a good question as well. And it really depends on the feeling, right? It depends on what you're trying to create. I have often found that when you, and I'm going to air quote here, overpose people, it doesn't usually work. If you're trying to get an emotion out of somebody, it's usually best just to say something to them that will get that emotion. If you want to get a genuine smile, for instance, you say something funny. If you want them to be mad, then you say something, or get them in the space. Think about something that made you angry. What happened when such and such happened? And this is why we talk to people. When you have an opportunity to photograph somebody, it's important to be having a conversation so you can start to drift them. What you don't want to do is put somebody in front of you and go, pretend that blah, blah, blah. Pretend that blah, blah, blah. That's not a way to get it. What you want to do is be talking to them all the time. When you first meet them, get a feel for them, get a sense. The more of I've mentioned this before, if you want to be a people photographer, you got to be a people person. You got to talk to people. You got to see how people react. And from that, you should be able to pull from the conversation some ideas that will get them in the directions that you're looking for. If they talk about things they really like and you're trying to make them angry or have a concerned look, you can take those things and spin them around, right? If they talk about loving animals, you can bring up terrible things that happen to animals, right? This is not something I would do in a casual portrait setting, but if you're really trying to push the emotion, or if it's something we have a lot of time, that might be the best way to do it. Talk about things that they like and twist them and manipulate them to get them to look the right way. Maybe you want a curious look, so you mention information about animals that they like. I don't know why I'm stuck on animals today, but that's where I'm stuck. So we know somebody loves puppies. We mention some curious facts. Oh, did you know that, every 5,000 puppies that are born, one of them has 2 different color eyes, or whatever it might be. I mean, don't make stuff up, but maybe quickly Google it while they're changing, right? Get some little facts going. Get a little, an idea of what you can say. Get them curious, or ask them for some strange facts about animals and stuff. Get them talking. The more that the subject talks to you and you don't just talk at them, the more comfortable they will be to go and fall into different spaces, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do. Think of a portrait as a conversation. That's super important. And just like any other conversation, you can guide the conversation with questions and statements that push it in different directions. And that's how you get different emotions. I would love to hear what you think about this subject. If you want to reach out to the podcast, you can send me an email, avoice@dnphoto.com. You can either just type out an email, or you can attach a voice file and I'll play it on the air. You could also shout out to me at the Discord server. I'll put a link to the Discord server in the description below. You can sign up there for the photo plays and talk on the AVoice chat or the photo chat, and let me know what you're thinking over there. If you'd like to support the podcast, it would be great if you could rate it and review it on the podcatcher of your choice. Also, if you want to support it monetarily, you can join my Patreon program. The link to that is also in the description. I will talk to you soon.